in search of sanity. Hello, thanks for once again allowing LilyBell to take you beneath the crust, where I talk about what you're afraid to think about. I'm so glad you're back. Grateful rising. You know, when I was a little girl growing up, I used to always hear my mama say, and other grown folks say, God's going to separate the wheat from the tare. You know, I mean the taff. That's what they would say. God don't separate the wheat from the taff. I never knew who I knew what wheat was because on the farm and stuff I would see wheat. I never knew what taff was, and she would explain to me the best she could, but I still didn't understand it. As a matter of fact, I think after she'd explained it to me, I was more confused than I was than I was before. And I'd heard other adults, God won't separate the wheat from the taff. And when I went to church one time, about maybe 9 years old, the preacher was talking about that. So my little ears perked up. He said, God is going to separate the wheat from the tare, the taff. Well, of course, the Bible says tare. But what the wheat, from the way he explained it, was the people who were doing what God's wanted them to do. The tare were the people who were going contrary to what God wanted them to do. So my question is, how is God going to know the difference between the wheat and the tare? And when I was younger, now that I'm older, and of course I'm a senior citizen now, but all my life, I have not been able to differentiate based on behavior from the wheat and the tare. Married wheat commit adultery, just like married tare. Young ladies who are wheat have babies out of wedlock, which means they're fornicating. And even if they don't get pregnant, a lot of times they're fornicating, just like the tare. I can't think of anything different. So, and I asked the question, when I was maybe like in my 20s or 30s or something like that. Okay, now, how is God going to know the wheat from the tare? Because if we're doing the exact same thing, He's going to know. But how? Well, you see, they go to church. So, okay, so I said, so are you saying that because they go to church on Sundays or maybe Wednesday night, then that's going to separate them from the people who don't go to church on Sundays or maybe Wednesday night? You're doing the exact same thing I'm doing. If I'm lying, you're lying. If I'm fornicating, you're fornicating. If I'm committing adultery, you're committing adultery. But because you go to church on a Sunday or you go to church on a Wednesday, whatever you meet, that makes you wheat. But then I'm tare. So then I asked this other question. And of course, I got a blank stare. I said, if that's the case, then all of us should just go to church. All of us. If the fact that you going to church on a Sunday and on a Wednesday, doing the same thing I'm doing, and I'm not going to church, you're going to be saved because I asked God to. Okay, well I can ask God to forgive me too. Then to me that's insane. That's insane. But it seems like we always have to have some kind of way of something that's going to separate us or make us feel like we are better than, I guess I would say, than somebody else, because there's just no way. For me, it doesn't make sense. If you can make it make sense, make it make sense to me. How is it? Because you get baptized, dipped in water, but then you come out of that water doing the exact same thing I'm doing, and I never went in the water. But because of that, you're going to go to heaven, I'm going to hell. So then I might as well just go get in the water, do whatever I want to do, and go to heaven and eat my milk and honey. And let me just say this, people, and I'm going to see if I can say this in good taste. That folks talking about milk and honey. Milk and honey is a laxative. You know that, right? So when you hear people talking about they're going to shout all over God's heaven, listen, if you get up there and get all that milk and honey, shouting ain't what you're going to be doing, okay? I'm sorry. But anyway, so how is God going to know the wheat from the tare? Let's talk about lying. Heard all my life about lying. Well, God hates a liar. All liars have a day in the lake of fire. But you remember what Jesus said? Let the weak say what? I'm strong. If you're weak, are you strong? What did he mean by that? Is it something we're missing? Something I'm missing. You remember Esau and Jacob? Jacob got one of, if not the biggest blessing based on lies. He deceived his dad into thinking he was Esau. His mama helped him. And when Isaac sent Esau out to get him some meat to eat and stuff,
The mama ducked up in there and cooked the meat right quick and gave it to Jacob and told Jacob to take it to his dad. And when his daddy said, "Wait a minute, boy, you sure move fast. How you get back so quick?" Do you know what Jacob said? Jacob said, "The Lord thy God gave me this meat." So here again, Jacob lied. Jacob lied on God. He lied to his dad. His dad said, "Are you sure?" He said, "Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm sure." That you sound just like Jacob. Oh no, this Esau. It's Esau. You see, so what about Rahab the harlot or the whore? You remember how when those men of God, what were those men doing in the whole house anyway? But anyway, when they was at the heart at Rahab's house, and when they were being sought, he hid them up under some straw. And she told the people, "Well, they've been here, but they gone." And she pointed in a direction, but they were actually hidden in her house on the straw. She got rewarded for that. For lying. That makes sense to me. It doesn't make sense. And one other thing, then I'm gonna let you go. You know what I don't understand? Why do we have the mental hospitals and stuff full of people because they hear voices, they see things? The Bible's full of people hearing voices and seeing things. Even Paul on his way to Damascus and stuff, he saw something. Moses was sent on a journey, a talking bush. Now, see, if I get out there and start talking to that tree in my yard and stuff, my neighbors are going to call somebody and they're going to come in white coats and they're going to take me somewhere. But why? Why? Not only did Moses talk did a bush talk to Moses, the bush sent Moses on a great journey. Go there and tell Pharaoh, let those people go, Moses. Bush, did you say something? I thought I heard you say something. Bush, did you say something? Yeah, man, you heard me. Take them shoes off. My shoes off in the dirt? Stand on holy ground, man. Get them shoes off. So why do we lock people up if they hear voices, if they say they see things? Why? And this is not a rhetorical question. For this, I would like to get a dialogue. I'm just trying to create a dialogue here because that's something about, even when I was little, I used to ask, well, was Moses crazy? I used to want to know this because, see, this is what I was hearing. You let me come across somebody and they stand out in a field somewhere talking to a bush. I'm not going to call anybody on them, but you know what? I don't think I'm going to stay around them too long. Then I don't know. I might be just as deranged. Now I go over there and start talking to the bush too. but but see, those are things I often wonder about. We're in a country where we say the Bible is the book that governs us. So how is it that we go so contrary? We go so contrary. And I could go on and on about, the different visions and stuff. And one other thing, the Old Testament versus the New Testament. Let's go and search your sanity. Now, anything that we don't want to do in the Old Testament, we will say, well, that's in the Old Testament. If it's something we want to do, then we'll say it's in the New. Well, that's in the New Testament. Well, I mean, we can still use that because blah, blah, blah. Case in point, David. David wrote Psalms. We always talk about the 23rd Psalm. That's the most popular Psalm it is. I would say, Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He make me lie to the green pasture. But David also wrote a psalm that said, avenge my enemy. Not only did David say he wanted his enemy avenged, David said, look, I want you to wipe them out. You start from the top down to the bottom. He wanted the whole line wiped out. That's also in the Old Testament. That's also a Psalm of David. So why is it wrong for me to pray that psalm? That's in the Old Testament. But it's not wrong for me to do the 23rd Psalm, which is in the Old Testament. What about tithing? That's in the Old Testament. The New Testament said, as a man purpose in his heart, so let him give. It said, not concerning the collection upon the first day of the week, let every man lay by his stores, God has prospered him. But I don't know of any church, now maybe some do, but I don't know of any church that don't teach that you should tithe. And some churches say you should give tithe and you should get offerings. Give your 10% and then something else. That's your tithe, the 10%, and then that's your offering. So tell me what you think.
Subscribe, comment, like, and share. Support our youth. Reach out to the young brother who dropped the beats. Spacemanfalcon at gmail.com. Support our youth in any way you can. Keep on churning till the butter comes. Albert C. Richardson, a black man, patent the butter churn U.S. patent number 446470, February 17th, 1891. I'm LilyBell. I'm just trying to create a dialogue. I leave you with this. If they close my book, you remember my story. You just tried to pretend that you're Chaff. Why did you do it? A Nat Turner Runner production. Lock and load. LilyBell. Be encouraged.